At Christmas dinner, my son reached for a cookie. My mom smacked his hand away and said, "Those are for the good grandkids, not you." People laughed. I stood up, took his coat, and we walked out without saying a single word. At 11:47 p.m., my dad texted, "Don't forget the business loan payment tomorrow." I just replied, "Noted." I never thought a Christmas cookie could bring down a family empire. But that's exactly where it began. I remember standing in my parents' dining room, staring at the table like it was part of a movie set. Perfect tablecloth, the fancy china no one was allowed to touch except on holidays. Candles placed just right. My mom had been preparing for Christmas since early November, and she made sure everyone knew it at least twice an hour. You know the feeling. Everything looks cozy and loving, but there's tension humming underneath, like a bad wire in the wall. My son sat next to me, his legs swinging because the chair was too big for him. He was wearing the sweater my mom bought him last year, the same one she later complained was too expensive for how little we appreciated it. He'd been quiet all evening, which already told me something was off. His eyes kept drifting to the cookies in the middle of the table. Big, sugar-dusted ones. The kind my mom only bakes once a year and treats like they're sacred. He leaned close and whispered, "Mom, can I have one?" I nodded. "Go ahead," I said softly. He reached out slowly, carefully, like he was afraid of breaking a rule he didn't even know existed. And then, smack, my mom slapped his hand away. Not hard enough to leave a mark, but hard enough to make a sound. The kind that freezes a room for half a second. She laughed, actually laughed. "Oh no," she said cheerfully, waving her hand. "Those are for the good grandkids, not for you." That sentence hung in the air. The kind that makes you realize this wasn't an accident. It was intentional. The room reacted. Not everyone, but enough. My sister snorted into her wine. My aunt gave an uncomfortable smile. Someone muttered, "Oh, Mom," like it was just one of her quirks. My dad kept slicing his turkey as if nothing had happened. I looked at my son. His hand was still frozen midair. His face went blank, no tears, no anger, just confusion. Then he slowly pulled his hand back and folded it into his lap, like he was trying to take up less space. You know that feeling when your chest tightens but your mind goes completely clear? That's what hit me. Years of memories rushed in at once. Every holiday where I was too sensitive. Every joke that wasn't really a joke. Every time I was told to be grateful while swallowing the humiliation. I waited for someone, anyone, to say something, to correct her, to laugh it off and hand my son a cookie anyway. No one did. So I stood up. I didn't slam my chair. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't give my mom the reaction she loves to twist later. I simply picked up my son's coat from the back of the chair and helped him put it on. "We're leaving," I said. The room went quiet for a beat, then filled with noise again. "Oh, come on," my mom said. "Don't be dramatic." "It was just a joke," my sister added. My aunt tried to smooth it over. "Let's not ruin Christmas." I looked straight at my mom and said very calmly, "You already did." My dad finally looked up. "Sit down," he said like he was correcting an employee. I didn't respond. I took my son's hand and walked out. No goodbyes, no explanations. Outside, the cold air hit us like reality. We walked to the car in silence. Halfway there, my son looked up at me and asked so softly it nearly broke me, "Mom, was I bad?" That question replayed in my head all night. Do you think a child ever forgets the first time they're ranked in their own family? I don't. I knelt right there in the driveway and told him the truth, that he was good, that he was kind, that cookies don't measure worth. He nodded, but his eyes didn't fully believe me yet. On the drive home, I kept thinking about everything I hadn't said and everything I had been paying for. Because here's the part no one at that table liked to mention. The family business my dad loved to brag about. I was the reason it stayed afloat. The loans. The quiet transfers. The payments I made on time every single month, while they treated me like the problem child who should just be grateful to be included. So when my phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m., I wasn't surprised. It was my dad. "Don't forget the business loan payment tomorrow." I stared at the screen for a long moment, longer than I probably should have. Then I typed back, already handled by pulling out. I placed my phone face down and took a deep breath. I didn't know it yet, but that one sentence was about to cause complete chaos. Very soon, they were going to realize that the bad daughter was the one holding everything together. Tell me, should I have warned them? Or was walking away the first real boundary I'd ever set? I woke up the next morning to my phone vibrating so hard it nearly fell off the nightstand. Not one buzz, not two. A full-blown electronic breakdown. Missed calls stacked like pancakes. Voicemails. Texts sent seconds apart like if they kept typing I'd finally cave. I didn't touch the phone. Not yet. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to my son breathe in the next room. And for the first time in a long while I felt calm. Not peaceful calm. That strange post-storm calm, where you know something huge has shifted and there's no going back. I made breakfast, cut his toast into triangles like he likes. He watched me carefully, the way kids do when they sense something's changed. "Are we still bad at Grandma's?" he asked. That hurt more than anything from the night before. I knelt and said, "No. We're just not going where people are mean to us anymore." He thought, then nodded. "Okay." Kids accept boundaries faster than adults ever do. After the bus left, I sat with my now-cold coffee and checked my phone. My mom's voicemail came first, dramatic tears perfectly timed. "You humiliated me on Christmas." My dad next, flat and angry. "What does pulling out mean? Call me." Then my sister's texts, "You're overreacting. It was a joke. You're really blowing this up over a cookie." I replied to my dad with one line, "I'm no longer paying the business loan," effective immediately. The phone rang. He yelled. I stayed calm. "I didn't decide this overnight," I said. "I just stopped ignoring it." My mom grabbed the phone. "After everything we've done for you." That old line. Then he needs to learn. Not everything is for him. Something hardened in me. "He learned," I said. "Just not what you think." Silence. Then panic about the business, the contracts, the people who depend on them. And that's when it hit me. They weren't calling because they cared. They were calling because they were scared. Because I was never just a daughter. I was the backup plan. I told them I'd think about it and hung up. Not because I needed time, but because, for once, they did. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. It was my grandmother, my dad's mom, the one who always slipped my son extra cookies and whispered, "Don't tell your mother." "I heard what happened," she texted. "You did the right thing. I wish I'd had your courage years ago." That broke me. I cried right there at the kitchen table. Because when the loudest people are wrong, sometimes the quietest voice saves you. By evening, the messages changed. Less anger, more bargaining. My sister asked if I could help just until spring. My dad sent spreadsheets, like numbers could guilt me back. My mom wrote about family loyalty and how fragile my father's health suddenly was. Funny how concern shows up when the money disappears. That's when it hit me, terrifying and empowering at the same time. They needed me far more than I ever needed them. I went to bed knowing I held all the cards, and soon I'd decide how to play them. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. The surprises didn't come loudly. They crept in. The first one came the next morning, too early. I hadn't finished my coffee when there was a knock. Not polite, not angry, just familiar. I opened the door. It was my mom standing on my porch like she belonged there, holding a red tin of Christmas cookies, the good cookies. The sacred ones. The irony almost made me laugh. "I made these for you," she said softly, too softly. "Your favorites, not my son's." I didn't step aside or invite her in. I just stood there blocking the doorway. "I just want to talk," she added, trying to look past me. "I miss my grandson." That's when everything snapped into focus. "You miss him?" I asked. "Or you miss access to him?" Her face shifted just for a second. That second told me everything. She didn't deny it. She sighed instead. "You're making this bigger than it needs to be. Your father's under a lot of stress. Pulling the loan could really hurt him." Still no apology. No mention of the slap. No acknowledgement of what she said. So I asked directly, "Why did you say that to my son?" She blinked. "Say what?" That fake innocence. The same one I grew up with. "You know exactly what." She waved it off. "Oh, that kids need to learn their place. Not everything is for everyone." I felt strangely calm. "We're done here." Her eyes widened. You'd really do this over one little moment. One moment for you, I said. A core memory for him. She stiffened. So now you're choosing this over your own family? I met her gaze. I'm choosing my child as my family. Then I closed the door. I leaned against it, heart racing, not with doubt but clarity. Surprise number 2 came later that day. My sister called, not angry, not defensive, nervous. I need to tell you something, she said quickly, like she might lose her nerve. I didn't laugh. Everyone thinks I did, but I didn't. And you didn't stop it either, I said. I know, she whispered, and I hate myself for that. Then she said the words that changed everything. Dad's been lying to you. I sat down as she explained. The business wasn't just struggling, it was sinking. The loan I'd been paying every month wasn't going where I thought. Not toward growth, not toward stability. Surprise number 3. My money had been quietly covering my brother's messes, gambling debts, failed ventures, silent bailouts. I was never told because I was dependable, because I wouldn't say no, because I was easier to use than confront. Do you know what it feels like to realize you weren't the helper? You were the shield. I hung up shaking, not from fear, but from a clean, focused rage. That night after my son was asleep, surprise number 4 arrived. A text from my dad. Not angry, not demanding, begging, I failed you. I should have protected you. Please don't let everything collapse. I read it again and again, because here's the part they never expected. I wasn't trying to burn everything down. I was just done saving them by destroying myself. I typed back slowly, carefully, we'll talk in person, on my terms. I set the phone down and breathed out. They thought this was about money. What they didn't realize was that soon they'd be negotiating trust, access, and power. So tell me, if you uncovered betrayal layered this deep, would you walk away immediately? Or stay just long enough to make sure it could never happen again? We met 2 days later, not at their house, not at mine, neutral ground on purpose, a small highway cafe where no one lingers and no one feels important. I arrived early, like I always do when something matters. Ordered tea I barely touched. Chose a seat with a clear view of the door just in case. I didn't bring my son. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was about reality. They walked in together. That was the first surprise. My parents almost never arrive as a pair unless it's planned. My mom looked perfectly composed, scarf set just right, her reasonable face already on. My dad looked tired, smaller somehow, like the weight of everything he'd hidden had finally caught up to him. They sat across from me. No hugs, no small talk. I won't take long, I said. And I won't argue. My mom opened her mouth. I raised my hand. That alone felt unreal, and she actually stopped. I'm not here to be convinced, I continued. I'm here to explain what's changing. My dad nodded slowly. My mom crossed her arms. I know about my brother, I said. The gambling, the debts. Where my money really went. The color drained from my mom's face. My dad closed his eyes like he'd been waiting for this moment. Confirmation, clean and final. You went digging behind our backs, my mom snapped. There's a difference, I replied. My dad cleared his throat. We meant to tell you. When? I asked calmly. Before or after everything collapsed? No answer. Then came the next surprise. Your brother doesn't know you know, my dad said quietly. I let out a short laugh. Of course he doesn't. My mom leaned forward, lowering her voice, like this was about to turn into a negotiation. Whatever mistakes were made. That doesn't change the fact that we need help. There it was again. Need, always need, never accountability. I set my cup down. Here's how this works now. Both of them stiffened. 1, I said, I am not resuming loan payments, not temporarily, not later. Never, my mom sucked in a breath. My dad's shoulders dropped. 2, I continued, my son is no longer available for jokes, comparisons, or lessons about his place. If you speak to him the way you did at Christmas, we're done. No explanations, no second chances, my mom scoffed. You're holding your child hostage. No, I said calmly. I'm being his parent. And 3, I added, leaning in. If I help in any way, it will be transparent and documented. And it starts with an in-person apology to my son. That's when my mom lost it. I will not apologize to a child. That's absurd. Just like that, the line was drawn. I turned to my dad. This is where you decide. He stared at the table for a long time, long enough that I thought he might say nothing. Then quietly, she deserves an apology. My mom whipped toward him. Excuse me. So does our grandson, he continued, his voice shaking but steady. And she deserves to hear it from us. You're taking her side now, my mom snapped. "I'm taking responsibility," he said. "I should have done it years ago." That was the real surprise. I'd prepared for guilt and manipulation. I hadn't prepared for him choosing growth. My mom stood so fast her chair scraped the floor. "If you let her tear this family apart." "I already did," my dad said softly. "By staying silent." She grabbed her purse and walked out without looking back. The cafe felt quieter after that, like the air had shifted. My dad looked at me, eyes glassy. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said, "but I want to do this right." For once I believed him. Not completely, but enough. I walked out knowing something irreversible had happened. Not just financially, emotionally. The old family hierarchy was gone. The rules no longer applied. What came next wouldn't be loud or dramatic, just real. The final surprise wasn't what my parents did. It was realizing that choosing myself and my child didn't destroy the family. It revealed who was willing to grow. Weeks passed. No group chats. No guilt-filled voicemails, just silence. My mom never reached out. No apology, no reflection. She chose pride by doing nothing, and that told me everything. My dad surprised me again. He didn't ask for help. He just started calling every Sunday. Short, awkward calls, real questions. One night he said, "I don't want to fix this fast, I want to fix it right." Eventually he came over alone. No excuses. No spreadsheets, just a letter from my son. He apologized, clearly, honestly. My son looked at me for permission. I nodded. "So," he asked seriously, "I'm not a bad grandkid." "No," my dad said. "You never were." That moment didn't erase the past, but it changed the future. My dad followed through. He handled his mess. My mom stayed away, painful but final. And here's what I learned. Walking away doesn't always break families. Sometimes it protects the ones that matter most. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. Choosing your child isn't selfish. My son remembers that Christmas, but not with shame. He remembers it as the moment he learned his mom would always stand up for him. That's the legacy that matters.